So, if you're a campaign player, I'm sure you've probably done this before with Chaos Dwarves or Dwarves with their new shotgun infantry or really any straight shot damage infantry or like flamethrower infantry. You'll set up a formation something like this. In this case for the Chaos Dwarf warrior line, 5v5 against the Black Orcs. I have 4 Blunderbusses. Now 2 are standing behind my Chaos Dwarves. They're not going to get good lines of sight. And 2 are set up to abuse the AI when the AI isn't paying attention. Now these Blunderbusses obviously aren't going to be able to get good shots. There'll be a decent amount of friendly fire that I guess as Chaos Dwarves they're happy to inflict on their own brethren. Bit of friendly fire, don't love that. Not a ton of damage, but usually set up a side shot and abuse the AI with nasty volleys down the line. Now this is fun, and this is satisfying, but I have 2 questions for you. 1, what if you're sick of cheesing, actually 3, if you're sick of cheesing the AI, what then? 2, what if the AI improvements CA is working on actually make the AI so much better, and they would know to send Black Orcs after these guys right here? Or 3, even in the current state of the AI, what if the enemy army is just larger than yours and you can't set up on the sides, otherwise Spider Riders or Goblins or something will be here, right? So I'm going to let this play out just to show something. So the Black Orcs beat up my front line very effectively. Good for them. And then I am able to kite out these 2 Blunderbusses, but the other 2 Blunderbusses in the back are sacrificed to the Black Orcs to hold them in place while the 2 that were sent flanking get big damage out. Now, why am I trying to show you this? Our front line broke. All of our Chaos Dwarf Warriors took a lot of damage. 2 of our Blunderbusses took a lot of damage, and you're going to be going back into the campaign map with quite a casualty replenishment situation you need to resolve. What if I told you there was a way to not cheese the AI, but to play fairly, not break your immersion, and actually get way better results than this cheese? So what we have is the crenellation formation. Crenellation formation is when instead of making your melee lines as large as possible and take up as much space as possible, you form them into boxes or lines. This serves 2 functions. 1, it creates holes in your line that these straight shot units can fire through. And it makes this unit last a lot longer because they're going to lose to the Black Orcs, right? So we want that melee combat to be as limited as possible. Well, all the Black Orcs are going to only be able to hit maybe 2 rows of these Chaos Dwarves, and they have to break through a lot more of them, so it'll just take them longer to reach the models to kill them, giving us more effective time of tanking. And then in the gaps, we have the Blunderbusses firing through. Now, the Black Orcs, any of them that try to get through the center, can get collapsed in on by both sides, and then we're already on the sides. So we can already get those side shots if they stop and fight. And if they don't stop and fight, they'll get rear charged, obviously. Or if they stop and fight these guys on the front line, like we'll see, you can usually get side shots in between by firing diagonally through the gaps, like that way or that way, by moving these guys just a little bit to each side. So you can see all 4 of our Chaos Dwarf Blunderbusses are able to fire through the formation instead of the 2 that were firing down the sides and the other 2 really couldn't see anything. There is no friendly fire because we're firing diagonally into these guys. We're getting a lot of good damage out. Now we set up the lines. My Overseer goes to fight against the Black Orc War Boss. Now I do order my guys to fire diagonally. They're not going to have the best lines of sight, but they will get a little poking in on the sides here. Still a little bit of damage. Not the huge, amazing volley you get down the side when you're doing the full cheese. Though I could be honestly microing them better and moving this one right here so I could fire more sideways. That's on me for not microing well enough. Noticing I'm starting to get a little obstructions. I don't want to path too close to the Orc War Boss and get caught, and also the Orc War Boss is beating up on my guy. So I am going to soon shoot at him, and then I was pretty proud of myself. I popped that whole, that Black Gem of Nar thing. So I go invulnerable, so I can't even take any friendly fire and just light this guy up. Pretty happy about that. But yeah, as you can see, a lot of the Black Orcs are taking damage. Our Chaos Dwarf frontline is taking significantly less damage in melee than they did when they were drawn out to take up as much space as possible, which is more standard. Now the Black Orcs are starting to rout without even getting through the front line. None of my Blunderbusses have been compromised at all, and I'm just going to return back to the campaign map with a lot more HP than I would have had otherwise. This is just the superior way to handle defensive formations if you have straight shooting range. Now you might be thinking to yourself, okay, cool, so I learned how to use that for Chaos Dwarves. What about other factions? Well, here we have some Skaven that can show you it. I have a Dwarf video later coming out showing you it with Iron Drakes, but in a different situation. So, For a fake greenskin horde charging, we have goblins, orc boys, black orcs, and an orc war boss. I have 3 night runners with slings, and then warp fire throwers in the crenellation formation. So the night runners are going to stay behind. We're all moving forward, so it's going to get a little jumbled for a second, but there we go. Now the formation shows up. So the night runners can always fire over the top. They don't care about lines of sight. So we're taking our straight shot units. Well, previously the blunderbusses, now the warp fire throwers. They're firing through the holes. And meanwhile, you still have a full solid front line to keep your night runners slings active and alive. If you're playing the Empire, these could be handgunners, and guys back here could be crossbows or archers. Something like that. Warp fire throwers get to fire up through the gaps in the line. Into the orc boys, roasting them, even onto the black orcs a little bit, getting some decent damage out despite their armor. Now we'll get a second volley on the goblins. These guys try and get through. I'm going to shoot at the stuff that's coming through the gaps, rather than still trying to kill the orc boys, so we get fresh shots on those goblins, tons of damage. Elsewhere, orc boys have to flank around the far way. Another goblin shot. Another big bout of damage. Might be able to rout them. So already we've cleaned out the front line of the greenskins. These black orcs are being a little persistent, but there it is. They got caught on the side of the crenellation, and now they're going in. They have to get new orders to get through because they got distracted briefly, and it gave me another extra volley as they struggled to get through the sides. Now I was busy looking at other stuff, so these warp fire throwers are going to leave the formation because I'm a doofus. These black orcs are still having troubles getting through because every so often they'll get caught. You can see they're getting caught in melee, and their units will start to turn around. And they have to get fresh orders to come charge me. So even that black orc got no damage on a warp fire thrower by just getting caught up on nothing. And then these goblins and orc boys are also stuck fighting clan rat spears, so I reorganized some of my formation. I'm going to get good side shots down those guys and get rid of them. And even black orcs barely got through some clan rat spears. 2 of them died in the process, and 1 is going to make it through, but I should be able to kite that out just fine. So I like this formation a lot. It's neat, and I personally just find more enjoyment when I don't, like, cheese the AI, like, do things to make them just be stupid and not interact. This formation is actually really cool, and, like, just looks awesome. So I enjoy it a lot. Hopefully you do too.
Roar. Subscribe, yes, yes.